Welcome back. We continue now with more important conversations. And as Parliament resumes its work this year, questions of accountability and justice, they remain firmly in the spotlight. The Ad Hoc Committee continues its hearings with more testimony expected within the coming days ahead as lawmakers work to really establish responsibility and chart a way forward as well. At the very same time, the courts are weighing critical legal questions in the murder case linked to DJ Warras, where the defence has made a fresh bid to introduce new evidence as well. So we're going to be looking at both processes, where they stand, what the public should expect also. And we are joined by Professor Nirmala Gopal, UKZN criminologist, who joins us virtually for that chat. Prof. Nirmala, good morning, and thank you for joining us at this hour.
Good morning, Liesl. Good morning to your viewers, and it's my pleasure once again.
Prof, I mean, there's still more questions as we try to put the pieces of the puzzle together and analyze the CJ, the criminal justice system at large. Talk to us about the Ad Hoc Committee now resuming its work. I mean, this week we saw, but if we're looking at who's expected to testify next and why their voices are important following the report as well that have been issued in December. Tell us a little bit more about what we should be expecting.
Thank you for that, Liesl. So I think according to the Ad Hoc Committee chairperson, we're already aware that Robert McBride will be next on the list, as well as Julius Mkhwanazi. But I think it's also going to be important to hear Paul O'Sullivan, whether it's in camera or in person, but more likely in camera. As well as the recall of some witnesses, for example, as some of the MPs have mentioned, that former Minister Becky Pele should be recalled. But I think finally, of course, they might recall General Mkhwanazi to tie up the bits and pieces that they might still find gaps within. So I think those are the likely witnesses we are going to see.
Yeah, it's going to be a busy period once again. And even with these individuals coming to the fore, some previously who have obviously testified, being recalled as well or asking to come back. What specific issues, what departments will then be under the spotlight within the coming days? Are there new documents? Are there new reports that have emerged that need to be incorporated to really clarify, look at what needs to still be confronted or confirmed at this point?
Yeah, so Liesl, I think in terms of Robert McBride, I think his role in IPID, but also, the accusations made by Patlane this week that he was part of a conspiracy to undermine policing together with Paul O'Sullivan, allegations against McBride, and I think he's going to be asked to, to counter those allegations or provide evidence and I think in countering those allegations, he might be asked, or he might present information specifically regarding the judgment between him and the state at the time. But also I think his testimony with regards to how political corruption had infiltrated policing during his term of office. So I think that's going to be very critical for the Ad Hoc Committee. In addition to that, I think if we look at Julius Mkhwanazi, I think it's going to be a very, very robust conversation around his role in corruption within EMPD, largely focusing on, the 200, I think it was about 275 individuals who were, accused of corruption and criminal activities, but still resided within EMPD. And also the promotions, the kind of unprocedural and illegal processes that continue to plague EMPD. So I think those are going to be important questions for him to defend.
Because, Prof, for the conspiracies, the blame game happening, he said, she said, I mean, at this stage, if we're looking at the committee and where it stands, is it still a fact-finding mission? Are we moving closer to accountability and consequences? Of course, we have to honor the integrity of the processes as well. But with these contradictions, how do we begin to credibly and critically assess what's transpired so far?
So I think the majority of the fact-finding is probably coming to a close. What's probably going to happen now is closing those gaps, in terms of previous testimonies, etc., but also recalling witnesses who themselves had lacuna or gaps in their testimonies. So I think it's more moving towards closure. Yeah, I think that's where the committee is probably at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, there's some sentiments, or people feel that the hearings are slow, they're repetitive. And talk to us about the process, why it still matters, why it's important to be closing all of these gaps. And if we're ultimately going to look at what justice then looks like at the end of this process, whether it's policy change, whether it's reform, whether it's prosecution as well, all three, tell us a little bit more about your expectations. Okay, let's see if we can get Prof. Nirmala Gopal back on the line there. Just, Prof, if you can hear me, I'm just going to repeat the question, because we're obviously looking at, sentiments from the community at large. You feel that the hearings are dragging on, taking too much time. Why is it important to honour the integrity of the process as well? And what does justice look like at large? If you can hear me, perhaps you could speak to whether it's on a policy level, a reform level, prosecution level. Does it encompass all three at this point? All right, let's see if we can reestablish that connection. For now, the Ad Hoc Committee presses on with its work this year. The courts continue to also weigh in evidence, arguments within the DJ Warras murder case. Both processes at this point underscore the same principle, that accountability is going to be taking time, but that justice must ensue if we follow the necessary processes and pressure. Again, thank you to Prof. Nirmala Gopal from the UKZN Criminology Department for joining us at this hour. Let's continue to monitor the developments from Parliament and in the courts as the matters unfold. Let's take a quick ad break and be right back after this.